G'day, Max here again. Welcome back to the shop. This will be episode 4, part 4, Swarf and chips, and we'll continue with the ball turning attachment. So our main aim today is to get the locking plate completed, which is the clamping plate which comes up underneath the attachment, which secures it to the bed. We'll get that completed, and then we'll move on with the configuration we're going to use for the tool holder. So we've got a piece of stock cut off already, so we'll head over to the mill and we'll just trim up the edges, give the top and bottom a facing cut, drill a couple of holes in it, and that's that part completed. So off to the mill. Okay, we have our part clamped in the vise now. Because it's only a rough sawn piece, we have this aluminium block here, so it's just contacting on one point on along this face. That helps it clamp a bit more securely. So the cutter we're going to use today, so we're just going to take some clean up cuts along these faces. We're just going to use a roughing cutter. So what I've selected is a Clarkson Ripper roughing cutter. It's a 5/8 cutter, like a bit of a corn cob type affair. These work very well, so we'll get him mounted up in the ER40. Sometimes with these collets, I think there's a bit of a myth on how tight they should actually be. That's why some people have a lot of trouble with the collets coming, with the cutters walking out of the collets. These are done up a lot tighter than what you'd think they are. I'll just give them a minute. 2 good smacks. Now there is a torque wrench setting for these. Now off the top of my head I cannot remember what it is. I should actually look it up now that I've said it. But it's tighter than what you'd expect. So we'll take a cut. What speed are we going to run at today? We'll go 700. 600 would probably be nice, but this mill doesn't have it. So 700 it is. We'll see how she takes it. Okay, well, that's given quite a respectable finish for a roughing cutter. There's the lines that run across it, a little bit like it's been done in a shaper. So we'll get the other 4 sides done, and then we'll start on the top and bottom. Okay, we're back. It's cooled down a bit. It was getting a bit warm this afternoon. She was still hovering around 39 degrees C, so it's about evening now. The sun's gone down, so we'll get a little bit more done down here. So where we're at tonight is the face on here we were going to machine. Now I was originally going to do that with just a face cutter, but I thought we'll try something different tonight. So I'd like to have another crack at fly cutting it. Now I don't actually own a fly cutter, but I do own a boring head. Put that around the right way so you can see it. So we just touch this tool up on the grinder, a little bit of a radius on the nose, and we'll see how that goes in the boring head used as a fly cutter. Boring head up inside. Tighten down. get my chair out of the way. You get our cutter set up in there. So the cutter just goes up into a sleeve. It's a 1/2 inch cutter going up into a sleeve. It's the boring head, I think it's 3/4. It's actually 18mm. We'll get that set up in there, and this is a left hand tool as well, so means we have to run the mill in reverse. So we'll get it, what we'll do, we'll just eyeball, just to make sure we've got a little bit of cutting angle going on. That looks alright. Tighten her up. Lock our slide off down here. Now, I think we're better off going with cutting oil for this operation. Okay, we'll give that a go. Probably run it. We'll try 375 RPM and we'll see what that looks like. Be running in reverse. That's one problem with using a boring head, is you have the mass, uncounterweighted mass hanging out, so she is shaking a bit. Would be nice to run it a bit quicker, but without a proper fly cutter that's balanced, we're going to get a bit of shake. So we'll see how she performs. Oops, helps if we go the right direction. Come down, put a little bit of colour on it. Oil. Just a very slow feed. Actually looking not too bad a finish. Okay, well, I think we'll bring you around the other side when we flip the part over. I think you get a better view of what's going on. Okay, we've got our first face cut, and for a fly cut surface it could be a lot better. Now that'll be due to the low RPM we're running, because of the mass hanging out on this boring head. We can't run it any faster. So to compensate for that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop the tool out. We're going to grind a larger nose radius on the tool, and when we come through to do our second cut, we'll run it at a slightly slower feed. What I should do in the future with this boring head, we have an extra port through the side, so I should make a shaft for the side with an adjustable counterweight, and that will help offset some of the mass from this side here. So that could be a future project, but for now we'll just increase the nose radius of the tool. So before I drop the tool out, I need to reference the top rake angle so the tool goes back in the same position, it just gives us a better guideline as to what's going on. If we put the tool back with a different rake angle, it's going to affect our finish again. So we want to stay within the same sort of parameters. So I'll bring you over. We'll show you how I'm going to reference the tool before I remove it. Okay, so we're just going to hold a straight edge against the top rake angle of the tool and eyeball it down the side of the vise. So when we grind the tool and put it back in, it goes back in at the same position. So I'll grind the tool and see how we go. Yeah, just grind our nose radius. So we've got a larger radius on the nose there, so you can see that. Pop him back in, give it a shot. Okay, we'll get our tool set back up in the sleeve. This has a reduction sleeve, this boring head, for the smaller diameter tools. Put our straight edge back up to re-reference the rake angle. That looks pretty good there, so we'll tighten it down there, give it a shot. Okay. And we'll get our job set back up. There's that bloody yap yap dog going off again next door. We'll get our workpiece set back up and take a trial cut across the other side. Okay, looking good there. Fair amount, good amount of cutting oil on it. Get it on now because we won't be able to get it on when the tool's cutting, so we don't want to get tangled up in that lot. I don't anyway. Okay. Get our direction right. That's shaking a lot more than what we're... Okay, I've just stuck a shim under one of the corners of the milling machine, and that seems to have settled down the shaking a bit. One thing with that always surprises me, a lot of people at home build these flimsy stands to put their machines on, and once you start getting shake in a stand or whatever your machine's mounted to, it always transfers through into the finish on your workpiece. So anyway, we'll move on. We'll get a cut on this and see how she comes out. Only a very light cut. If you'll notice, I'm using a hand-over-hand motion on the feed wheel. Just helps with an even table movement. Okay, we'll see how that looks. Well, it's a definite improvement over our first side. So the increased radius on the tool has certainly made a difference. So what we have to do now is we've got to machine a couple of rebates down the side, just as a guide for when it's in the underside of the lathe bedway. So we'll get set up for that and bring you back. Okay, well now we'll cut our little recesses in the sides there. So basically all we're going to do is we've got a 200 thou deep recess, and they are 368 thou wide on either side. That gives us a centre distance of 3 1/8 in the middle. So we'll get a tool set up. So I'm just going to use an end mill, ordinary end mill. Now, we could use an edge finder to pick up the edge. But mine's in several pieces. She had a bit of a mishap. That's alright. So we'll come down and set our depth first. We can either come down till we just see the scratches on the Sharpie marker on top, or we can put a piece of cigarette paper under the cutter. The cigarette paper measures a little bit over 1 thou, I think. About 1 1/4 thou. So we can turn our machine on. Put our cigarette paper underneath it. Just come down very slowly. Grab some paper. There it is. Okay, so we come down 200 thou from there, so we'll zero our dial. Actually, we won't. We'll come down 200 thou. We'll use the dial indicator because this has got those conversion dials on our quill there, and they're a bit of a weird setup. So far easier, far more accurate this way. Okay, so we're going down 200. 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 200. Lock her off. That's our depth set. So we use the same procedure to set our distance in. We use the cigarette paper again. We get the cutter a bit closer. We just hold it there till it grabs. Just cutting in very, very gently. There. Turn the machine off, and bring the tool back out the way, and we'll set our indicator up again, and we'll move the table across our 368th hour, 368.5 actually. It's okay there, so we make sure our indicator is nice and square to the job. Okay, so we want 368.5. Okay, so we go 100, 200, 60, 68.5. And we'll lock her off. The indicator didn't move that time when we locked her off. Sometimes it does. The table moves a bit, sometimes it doesn't. So, okay, we're good to go at our first cut. So we'll get that cut through and we'll repeat the process and do the same on the other side. Okay, we'll run a file over those edges, see if we're anywhere near where we need to be in size. We should be pretty close, like it's only a clearance size, so way. Okay, quick measurement. I actually went 100th short on that side there. So when I've moved the table across, I've only counted 268, not 368. So I'll have to take a bit more off that side there. Oh, it happens every now and then. We'll get a proper dimension on that. .215 3.2150 minus 3.125 3.125 009 90,000. Okay, so we take 90 off there, we should be right. Just set our indicator back up again, we've just touched off on the edge. Yeah, I don't know how I managed to do that, but it happens. So we're at 90. Okay, there's 90 there. I'll lock the table off again. There we go. Okay, another quick deburr. And a measurement. .125. Spot on. take her out the vise and get her all cleaned up. Well, I suppose we should throw a mic on this and see how we're going for size after Mr. Bozo came along. I think we're pretty good. It's pretty close. Funny thing though, Mr. Bozo, he came and visited me today, and the other day he came and visited Bruce with him down the road. I think he's escaping all that cold weather you guys are having over in America. Okay, well, we're going to be coming up to the conclusion on that ball turning attachment shortly. Probably another episode, we'll just about see it wound up with the extension handle and the tool holder made. So anyway, it's starting to get a bit hot here today. It's 36, 37 degrees, which is normally bearable, but it's quite humid today here in Perth. So we'll wrap this one up for today and continue on in the next episode. Time to pull up for a sherbet. Cheers. Oh, I just want to thank all my new subscribers, or all of them actually. Thanks for coming on board, and yeah, any comments are welcome. So, alright, we'll see you in the next episode.